Hello, I'm Richard Murphy, and I want to discuss what the constraint is that stops the government spending money forever into an economy without considering the risk of inflation. Now, I've done a couple of videos that explain how the money system has worked over the last 50 years, and we'll put some links to those previous videos under this one. The point is that until 1971, the amount of money that a government could spend into the economy was constrained by the amount of gold that it had, because there were fixed exchange rates between currencies like the UK pound and the US dollar, and there was a fixed exchange rate between the US dollar and gold until the 15th of August 1971. Since that date, there has been no exchange rate with gold. No money has been backed up by the value of gold ever since then. Instead, governments have been at liberty to create as much money as they like, so long as people accept that they can make a good promise to pay. Now, the convention has been, and indeed an economic paranoia has been, with making sure that people do believe that the government can promise to pay, and that obsession has been around making sure that there is limited inflation, which is seen as equating to proving that money has value. So lots of political effort has been expended on trying to control inflation. It has been the paranoia of the neoliberal era of economics, which really began in 1980 with Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. And although the theories that underpinned this paranoia from people like Milton Friedman are now largely discredited because the quantity theory of money has been shown to simply not work and the assumptions that underpinned his work are simply invalid, there is still a belief that there must be a limit to the amount of money which a government can spend. And to some extent, we have to all accept that that is right. Just suppose a government did decide to spend, well, literally without limit. We can imagine the outcome. And people say it often. They say, the Weimar Republic, and people pushing around barrow loads of cash in wheelbarrows, which by the time they'd had a pint of beer were only worth half of what they were worth at the start of the pint. Or they talk about Zimbabwe and the fact that its currency collapsed and so on. Now, first of all, it has to be said that such types of hyperinflation are incredibly rare. There are 20 or so in the last century or more, and remember, there have been a great many currencies in the world in that period of time. So most currencies have never suffered a hyperinflation, and most never will. It is a tiny number. I will discuss why hyperinflation happens in a separate video in due course. That's not our concern here. Normal inflation is. And normal inflation has never gone above 26% in the last century or so in the UK, in fact, ever. So why doesn't that happen? Why don't we get inflation? Well, there are a number of reasons. The biggest one of which is that sensible governments balance their budgets to make sure that they have another objective in mind, which is full employment. It was Lord Keynes who said, and Keynes was the greatest economist of the 20th century, working in particular in the 1930s when he was tackling the Great Recession of that period. Lord Keynes said, if we sort out unemployment, the rest will sort itself out afterwards. The point is, if a government budgets to try to create full employment in an economy, and I, by full employment, mean that everybody who wants a job has a job, and that job is paid at least a living wage, not just that people are working at any old rate that somebody cares to mention. Exploitation is not a part of the definition of full employment. But if you budget for full employment at a fair living wage that people can live on, then you target the best use of all the resources in your economy. And those resources in your economy, the real people who live in your country, and the resources, physical and otherwise, that you need to acquire from within it and from without it, in other words, import it, those resources are the constraints on real economic activity that you can undertake. If you try to inject more money into the economy than can be spent on wages of people at full employment or on the goods and services that need to be imported to support their economic activities and their consumption, then you are going to create inflation. That is a matter of fact. Then you will overheat the economy. So there is a real constraint. The constraint that existed until 1981, which was the amount of gold that the government had available, has been replaced by the number of people who want to work at least a living wage inside your economy, plus your ability to buy in the goods and services they need from abroad, which of course is also a factor related to your ability to export goods and services to others. Also, therefore, related to full employment, which makes full employment the dominant factor. So, putting people first is what matters when we come to inflation. When we want to manage the economy, the big question is, how many people are going to want to work? What is the living wage? How can that living wage be influenced by improving people's productivity at work? How much can they produce as a consequence? What is the value of that? And how much money is needed to keep that circulating? And what part of that total circulation must be collected by way of tax to withdraw resources from the private sector economy and make them available to the state sector economy to provide the services that only the state can deliver, like in the UK, education and health and defence and the police and fire services and so on. Get that balance right, and the inflation will sort itself out. Get that balance wrong by underpaying people, leaving resources underemployed, not investing to create exports to balance imports, failing as a consequence to maximise the effectiveness of economic activity in the economy, and the risk of inflation is created either by government overspending because there isn't enough to spend money on and the available resources aren't productive, or because, quite simply, you're going to suck imports in place of the goods that could be made. And that can be inflationary. So there are risks to having a currency which is not backed by gold. But the risk is, quite simply, not managing the people, their skills, their work and their wages well enough to make sure that that combination of skills, people and wages keeps people in full employment at a rate where they can afford to live, which is the goal that any good government should have for the economy. And where does balancing the books come into that? Well, actually it doesn't. It doesn't come into it at all. And the reason why it doesn't come into it at all is simply because if you get the balance of employment right, so you get people working, you may need to run a deficit to inject the amount of money that the economy needs to simply fund the growth that will be going on in the amount of activity that people will want to undertake. And that's healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. The government needs to do that. And therefore, balancing the books is in fact an artificial constraint on this process of getting the amount of money injected into the economy right, because the goal is full employment. Always remember, don't worry about the money, worry about the full employment. The rest will sort itself out after that. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in what I've been saying in this video, please subscribe. There is a button below the viewing screen. If you're interested in what I have to say on Twitter, I'm at Richard J. Murphy on that medium. If you want to look at my blog, that's taxresearch.org.uk. And we have a Facebook page as well, Richard J. Murphy. So one of those things will get you more information on what this video series is about, and I hope I'll see you again soon.